Okay, so today's plan is basically to review a Drapers magazine. So my first impressions of the Drapers magazine was it wasn't too overpowering like the typical fashion magazines like Elle and Vogue, where the front cover would be filled with a big and large picture. Instead, with the Drapers, they just take a simple picture with which has a white border around it, and it has the Drapers title on top. So I felt as though it looked quite professional and neat because it had a white border around it, and because of this, it made the magazine look less busy in a way, and it kind of stood out if you put it next to like GQ or Vogue or Elle magazine. It stood out because it looked very neat. So after looking at the magazine and reading through it, I felt as though the layout that Drapers had was very neat and tidy, and it was quite monochrome with like simple black writing on a white background. But there was a bit of colour inside it. For example, the subheadings would have like their own colour, and I also felt as though it was like a good balance between like monochrome and colour, as well as text and images. It wasn't too text heavy and it wasn't overpowered with visual images. And I also found something that I like about the Drapers was the fact that after each chapter or each page there would be a title of what you're reading in the top corner. So for example, there was a section I was reading on the news and about news in the fashion industry, and in the top corner there was a title saying heading saying news. And I felt as though this is quite helpful for me because it helped the reader, like it gave the reader an idea of what this section is about. So another thing I realised about Drapers was that it was mainly industry based, and it was more to do with like the fashion, the business side of fashion. So there was a lot of facts and figures about individual businesses, how they were doing in the market, any problems or anything that was going on within that business, and I felt as though I wouldn't have known that information if it wasn't put in that magazine. So other things that I have in the magazine were basically current affairs in the industry. For example, Dr. Martens is suing a Chinese company for selling and designing a replica of the Dr. Martens shoes, and personally I wouldn't have found that out if I didn't read the magazine. Mainly because it doesn't really come on mainstream news like BBC News or Sky News. It doesn't really show up on Vogue or Elle or GQ, those fashion magazines, and it only comes up on Drapers. So another good thing about Drapers is the fact that it helps promote or give us information about like any manufacturers in the area to manufacture clothes, or small things like tags on clothes. And previously I found that really hard to find anything if I searched it up on Google, for example, but the Drapers magazine gives us that information, and I found that very useful. Overall, I feel as though Drapers is a really good magazine for not only fashion, but like the more business side of fashion, more industry based fashion, like retail. And I feel as though it's a more preferable magazine than the typical fashion magazines like Vogue, GQ